A very good morning and welcome to finals day here in Racice. It is the second Canoe Sprint World Cup of 2016 and we have a packed programme of finals for you here this morning. We're going to start with the B finals and we've got a really exciting lineup for you. We're starting with the B final of the women's K1 1000 metres. That will be followed by the C final of the men's K1 1000 metres. Then the B final of the men's K1 1000. That will be followed by the B final of the men's C1 1000. And then after that we'll have the B final of the women's K2 500 metres. Then the men's K2 200 metres. And after that we'll have the women's K1 200 metres and the B final of the women's K1 200 metres. That was the B and C finals. We'll have more B finals for you after that before we move on to the A finals. We'll start then with the men's K2 1000. After that will be the women's K1 1000 and that will be the start of the A final racing for you this afternoon. Really exciting racing lined up for you and some really big names to look out for in those races this afternoon, especially with the A finals which starts at 11 o'clock. But first of all we have the A final of the women's K1 1000 metres, and in lane 1 is Jianing Deborah Saw of Singapore. All these women really unlucky to have missed out on the A final, which goes later on just after 11 o'clock. And a bit later on I will be joined by Katrin Bachmeier of Austria, who will be actually racing now in this women's K1 1000 metres. So later on in the women's K1000 metre A final, that's going to be a really tight affair. But first of all, we do have in lane 1 from Singapore, Jianing Deborah Saw. In lane 2, that's Amelie Amt Peterson. In lane 3 from the Czech Republic, that's Jana Kopatova. And alongside her in lane 4 is Japan's Omura Azumi. In lane 5 from the Czech Republic, Lucie Kopatova. Lane 6 is Austria's Katrin Bachmeier, who I've already mentioned will be alongside me a little bit later on. Then alongside her in lane 7 from Turkey, Terek Vivian. From Thailand in lane 8, Warapon Boon-Yu-Hong. You're seeing Vivian Terek there of Turkey on our screens. And the starters orders, and also from Singapore in lane 9, Suzanne Sayer. And it looks like they've had a full start already this morning. There was a lot of false starts yesterday. I'm wondering whether there's some problems with the start mechanisms or whether it's just athletes really keen to get out the buckets and get underway. I can hear the starter loud and clear, so it shouldn't be any problem with the communication up there, but maybe there's some problems with the buckets. And it looks like we started off this morning with a little bit of a headwind, but it seems to be calming down and hopefully it might change direction a little bit later on and hopefully get some fast times, because it's extremely warm out there. The water's warm as well. Yesterday the air temperature got to about 25 degrees, but with very little cloud cover it feels a lot hotter than that. And the athletes now will be making circles with their boats, coming around back to the start line. It's important for them to keep warmed up, keep limbered up. Some of them will be putting droplets of water down the backs of their necks because they're starting to get a bit hot. Even at just before 10 o'clock this morning, it's pretty warm out there. We're seeing Lucie Kopatova from the Czech Republic out there. Some really gorgeous designs. I think every year we see better and better, more exciting designs on their boats. So not a great start to the morning with the first full start underway. And there's the other Czech athlete, Jana Kopatova. So they're coming back and lining up now for the second attempt at a start in this B final of the women's K1 1,000 metres. So no medals up for grabs, just pride, and a lot of athletes trying to make a point that perhaps they could have been in that K1 1,000 metres A final, but it's a great start straight out of the blocks for Asumi Umura from Japan, who's out there in lane 4 in that white boat. Has already settled into her rhythm, looking nice and strong and tapping the boat along nicely. Alongside her in lane 5, slightly different technique is Lucy Kopatova of the Czech Republic, but already going really, really well is that Japanese athlete Asumi Omura, out in lane 4, and she's just settling her stroke down now. And that's also the athlete in lane 2, Emily Peterson of Denmark, looking really strong, still already up there. And also going well is Vivian Terek of Turkey in lane 7, and Waraporn Woon-Yu-Hong of Thailand in lane 8. It is those 4 athletes currently leading the field, and it looks like Turkey's Vivian Terek, who's starting to put in the power as they come towards the 500 metre mark. And the Danish athlete Emily Peterson, just 18 years old, still looking really, really strong, very relaxed. Doesn't look strained in her face at all. Looks like she's very, very under control. Be interesting to see what she's got over the second 500 metres, whether she's got more in the tank. It looks like Lucy Kopatova of the Czech Republic is working pretty hard, sitting down there in 5th at the moment, but they come through the 500 metre mark in about 2:09. So not particularly fast times this morning. I've said there was a bit of a headwind earlier. It's just settling down, but still affecting them by the looks of the times. Still in the lead is Asumi Omura from Japan, and Lucy Kopatova of the Czech Republic pushing up alongside her as well. Vivian Terek going very strongly. I must admit, Denmark have got some very, very impressive young athletes coming through. World champions in junior K4 last year. And we saw Emma Jorgensen going really well in Duisburg last week in the K1. But it's still Japan's Asumi Omura as they come through the 250. Now, who's going to lift and who's got more in the tank? It's still with Japan, going really, really well. Czech Republic's Lucy Kopatova is starting to build. She looks like she was working hard for pretty much the whole race, but it looks like she's actually still got even more in the tank. So 3:17 they come through the 250 on. And Asumi Omura of Japan just looking very, very controlled, very relaxed. At the moment, the second place is between Emily Peterson of Denmark and Catherine Backmeyer, and Lucy Kopatova of the Czech Republic, and also Vivian Terek of Turkey. But remember, no medals up for grabs in this one. just all about the pride and own sort of personal endeavour, personal targets. And it will be Japan who crossed the line in first place, followed very closely by Emily Peterson of Denmark, who takes second. And I think that was Lutzi Kopatova of the Czech Republic in third, sorry. So Japan's Asumi Omura takes first place in the B final of the women's K1 1000 metres. And I'll bring you the rest of the results as soon as I possibly can. But an absolutely very, very strong performance indeed from start to finish from Asumi Omura. It came out of the blocks very quickly and got straight into the lead and held it and actually pulled away over the last 250 metres. But the men's K1 1000 metres C final is now underway out on the course. We're seeing Laurens Panikou of Belgium going really well at the moment in lane 5. He's got a point to prove. Not easy being in a C final, and I can definitely imagine people, the athletes out there, really trying to prove themselves to their team, to themselves, to their families back home, that they should have been in the B final, in the A final. And the racing has been so close this week. The positions in the finals were decided by just semi-finals, with the top 2 going into the A final, the next 2 going into the B final, the next 2 going into the C final. So it's been very, very close racing indeed. But I'll just run through the athletes in this men's C final of the K1 1000 metres. We have Joachim Lindberg from Sweden in lane 1. From Iran is Farzin Asadi in lane 2. In lane 3, Eivind Vold of Norway. In lane 4, Morten Gravesen of Denmark. In lane 5, from Belgium, Laurens Panikou. In lane 6, Fabio Vis of Switzerland. Slovakia's Matej Michalek in lane 7. Angus Mortimer of Canada in lane 8. And Ahmed Reza Talebian of Iran in lane 9. So very difficult to see at the moment who has the lead from this angle. I'm afraid I can't see any more than you can. At the moment like perhaps the athlete out in lane 1, Joachim Lindberg of Sweden, looks like he's going pretty well. I think he may be leading. Try and get my binoculars out and see if I can get a better look. And also going really well is Joachim Lindberg, and Laurens Panikou of Belgium in lane 5 looking strong as well. So they're coming towards the 250 metre mark now. It's all going to be about this last 250. Leads can change. You can go from first to last over the last 250. But Laurens Panikou of Belgium seems to have a boat length's lead as they go through the 200 metre mark. Also looking strong. I think that's Angus Mortimer of Canada in lane 8. Morten Gravesen there of Denmark, keeping really good control over his technique as they come over the last 150 metres. But pushing up now into second place is Fabio Vis of Switzerland. Angus Mortimer of Canada now in third, but a really very strong finish, a very strong race indeed from Laurens Panikou of Belgium to take first. It was Fabio Vis of Switzerland who takes second, and Angus Mortimer of Canada who finishes in third. So a fantastic race again from Laurens Panikou. These finals, if you're not aware, are spearheaded. So those athletes who got the best times, the best finishes in the semi-finals will be put into the central lane. So that's why we saw Lawrence Panaku, the strongest athlete in this one, leading from start to finish. As we saw earlier, Asumi Omura of Japan leading from start to finish also in lane 5 in the B final of the women's K1 1,000 meters. So there we have the final times, 3:39.812, the winning time in the C final of the men's K1 1,000 meters. Fabio Vis of Switzerland taking second. Angus Mortimer of Canada in third. Fourth place went to Even Vold of Norway. Fifth was Ahmadreza Talebian of Iran. Sixth went to another Iranian athlete, Farzin Asadi. And seventh went to Morten Gravesen of Denmark. And now the next race on course will be the B final of the men's K1 1,000 metres. Just finishing off that finishing list. Slovakia's Matej Michalek finished 8th in that C final, with Joachim Limburg of Sweden finishing in 9th place. So there we have the B final now lining up on our screens. We just saw Jost Zakrajsek of Slovenia. Alongside him is Gabor Božic of Turkey. Petr Geller of Slovakia is in lane 3. Alongside him, Jonathan Boyton from Great Britain. Made his first A final at a major championships last year at the European Games in Baku. Kai Spenner from Germany in lane 5. Then Daniel Bauker of Australia in lane 6. He made his international debut for Australia at the Oceania Championships earlier this year. He will go on to make his Olympic debut in Rio in a few months' time. And he, I believe, is 28 years old, so a fantastic sign for those athletes who are perhaps late at getting into the sport, late at really pushing it to achieve their best, that Daniel Bauker now is really doing that for Australia. So bursting out of the blocks, you can see already looking stronger than that C final. And it is Daniel Bauker of Australia out in lane 6 in that green and yellow boat that gets underway strongly. Gabor Božic of Turkey in the Orca boat out in lane 2, also looking strong. You can see his legs really working over those first couple of 100 meters. See him rotating through the hips in order to bring the shoulders and body round. They're getting a really good rhythm. So at the moment, the lead, I believe, is with Kai Spenner of Germany in the yellow boat in the central lane. Mika Dietrich of Finland going really well as well. And John Boyton, lovely low stroke rate in comparison to a lot of those athletes, tapping the boat along. Looks like he's taking just a little look to his right. Well, it might just be the way his head moves when he's paddling. So those three athletes now really reaching it out at the front. These ones are the athletes that just narrowly missed out on a place in the A final. And that is Kai Spenner of Germany that leads. They're coming up to the 500 metre mark now, with Kai Spenner leading. And Daniel Bauker and John Boyton of Australia and Great Britain flanking them. Still looking good is Mika Dietrich in this nearest lane from Finland. And you can see there Gabor Božic of Turkey has just dropped his stroke rate down slightly. But interesting to see the different contrasting techniques there, with Kai Spenner leaning forward a little bit more with his stroke, with Daniel Bauke, who sits up a little bit more upright. And I must say, Daniel Bauke does actually make it look pretty easy. So he's just gradually closing the gap on Kai Spenner. Bauke does look like he has a little bit more in the tank, but it can be very, very deceptive. I know from experience that you can certainly feel like death when you're paddling and you come off and the people tell you that it looks lovely. So Kai Spenner still putting in big, big power with every single stroke. Daniel Bauke just coming up now into the lead as they come towards the 200-metre mark. Very, very good pacing so far from Daniel Bauke, just sat there in contention and in control and lifted it over the last 200. And so has he got enough in the tank to hold on and take first in this B final? Is still with Daniel Bauke now ahead of Kai Spenner of Germany, who's going to try and come back. John Boyton is having a strong finish as well for Great Britain. And at the moment, first place in this B final could go to any one of these three athletes. This is certainly coming down to a very, very exciting finish. Kai Spenner is lifting again. And don't rule out Gabor Bojic of Turkey either. He's now coming up into those first couple of positions. But first we'll go to Kai Spenner of Germany. Jonathan Boyton of Great Britain will take second. And I think third was either Daniel Bauke of Australia or Gabor Bojic of Turkey. But what a fantastic finish. And as you can see, just because it's B finals doesn't mean it's any less of a race. All those athletes really, really gunning for that first place. And I still can't separate between Gabor Bojic and Daniel Bauke for the third place in this B final of the men's K1 1000 metres. So coming up very shortly, we'll have the B final of the men's C1 1000 metres. And there we have it, the final, the times. Kai Spenner 3:38.777, the winning time in the B final of the men's K1 1000 metres. John Boyton just a tenth of a second behind from Great Britain, taking second. I think third place did go to Gabor Bojic of Turkey with 3:39.821. We've got a few problems with our timings list, our results list, so I'll try and bring you that for certain a little bit later on. But I think it was Gabor Bojic who took third, with Daniel Bauke of Australia in fourth. So next up we do have the B final of the men's C1 1000 metres. The A final goes at 11:10 this morning, and that's looking like a really, really big race. We have the reigning World, Olympic, European and European Games champion Sebastian Brendel of Germany lining up as the fastest qualifier. That's in the A final a little bit later on, but he wasn't here in Germany last week. Martin Fuchser of the Czech Republic, the reigning under-23 world champion, will be trying to topple Sebastian Brendel's undefeated record over 1,000 metres that he holds since 2003. So just seeing a replay from that women's K1 1000 metre B final earlier on. That was won by Asumi Omura of Japan. closely followed by Emily Peterson of Denmark, with Lucy Kopatova from the Czech Republic finishing in third place. And here we have the highlights of the men's K1 1000 metres C final. Laurens Pannekoek of Belgium leading from start to finish in that one. It was Fabio Viss of Switzerland who took second, and Angus Mortimer of Canada who took third in that C final. And there we have that very, very close B final in the men's K1 1000 metres, which was won by Kai Spenner of Germany, with Jonathan Boyton of Great Britain taking second. So next up we have the B final of the men's C1 1000 metres. So in lane one in this men's C1 1000 metres will be from Indonesia, Anwar Tara. Let me see, in lane three, Vadim Menkov of Uzbekistan. Surprised to see him in this B final. Definitely would have been a contender for the A final, I would have thought. And there we can see in lane two, from Slovakia, Vincent Farkas. In lane five, Gerasim Koshnev of Uzbekistan. And alongside him will be Matej Rusnak of Slovakia in lane six. In lane seven, that's Longqi Wang of China. In lane eight, from Kazakhstan, Sergei Yemelyanov. And completing this men's B final in the C1 1000 metres, from Estonia, it's Giuseppe Karlsson. So these canoe athletes just getting themselves into the start buckets at the start of the B final of the men's C1 1000 metres. As well as Martin Fuchser and Sebastian Brender, who we've already mentioned, who will be racing in the A final a little bit later on. We have the reigning junior world champion, Sergei Tarnovsky, just 18 years old. He won silver behind Sebastian Brendel at Duisburg last week. Really pushing the experienced German right to the line. And another really experienced athlete in that C1A final, 1,000 metres a little bit later on, is Mark Aldershaw of Canada, Olympic bronze medalist at London 2012. And they're underway now in this B final of the men's C1 1,000 metres. And it is a strong start from Vadim Menkov of Uzbekistan out there in lane 3. Just powering out of the blocks before finally settling into their stroke, but some big, deep, long strokes from Vadim Menkov of Uzbekistan. He's lifting his boat out of the water with each stroke, surging it forward. And that's contrasting with the faster, sharper attacking stroke of Matej Rusnak of Slovakia in that white boat in lane 6. But also of Uzbekistan, Gerasim Kochnev in lane 5 going well as well. They're through the 750 metre mark in about 48 seconds, which is not bad at all. And this is looking like it's going to be shaping up for a really exciting men's C1 1,000 metre B final. So 250 metres, perhaps just a little bit more left to go in the B final of this men's C1 1,000 metres. And it's still Vadim Menkov of Uzbekistan who looks strong. But it's his teammate Gerasim Kochnev, also of Uzbekistan, in lane 5, who's now leading it out with a boat length lead ahead of Vadim Menkov as they come through the 200 metre mark. And alongside Gerasim Kochnev is Matej Rusnak of Slovakia in lane 6. It's a really spread out field here at the moment, with Vincent Farkas of Slovakia down in 4th. There's just 100 metres left to go here, and Matej Rusnak of Slovakia seems to be powering forward. Can he move up into the 3rd place position in this B final? It looks like a fantastic finish though from Gerasim Kochnev of Uzbekistan, who will cross the line first followed by his countryman Vadim Menkov, with Matej Riznek of Slovakia taking third place. There you have it, the winner of the men's C1 1000 metres B final, Gerasim Koshnev of Uzbekistan. He battled it out with his teammate from Uzbekistan, Vadim Menkov, for the whole race, but it was Koshnev who had the much stronger second 500 metres.